Hello and welcome to Morning Java. I'm Chris Bradford along with Taylor Haas. As always, sponsored by Get Go Cafe and Market, where I think I'm going to be stopping by for lunch after this one.
Probably get a burger. They do custom burgers. You can get like tots on it and fries. It's incredible.
Tots are always good.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with tots on any kind of sandwich. So we're talking a little bit about the Penguins, specifically about Zach Aston Reese and Garrett Wilson. Two guys, recent call-ups. They've been playing on the fourth line, have made, I think, something most impressive. They made Daniel Sprong kind of take the back seat. So it looks like Daniel Sprong might be out of town. But the Penguins have liked what they've seen from those two guys. They're using them on a fourth line. They're more traditional fourth liners, certainly different than what the Penguins have had in the past there on the fourth line. So you've watched these guys in Wilkes-Barre a lot this season and last season. So what can you tell us about those two?
Yeah, I mean, last week when they got called up, Dayan asked me, like, which two forwards did you bring up? And right away I said Aston Reese and Wilson. They were tied for the lead in goals. They're just really good energy guys. They both play very physical. Wilson's a good net front guy. I've said, like, I'm waiting for, like, an Aston Reese, shot and a Wilson redirect. They've teamed up a few times for goals in Wilkes-Barre. I wouldn't be surprised to see that in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, I think everybody had Zach Aston Reese pegged to be, if not at the start of the season, then at some point, here in the early going, because we saw what he did last season. But Garrett Wilson's kind of an interesting story. Here's a guy who's been a journeyman, hasn't played in the NHL for 2 years, and now he's up with the Penguins. He's obviously a guy who's probably itching to get a goal. Yeah,
he's not a guy that you'd think he'd make the team out of training camp. I don't think he was in anyone's minds, but he's a guy that after a few weeks in Wilkes-Barre, you're like, why is he still down there? He's a proven goal scorer at the AHL level. I'm waiting for a goal like that, like a redirect goal, a tip in the NHL level. He's just and he's like so mature. He's their captain. He's a leader. He's just a great locker room guy.
Well, regardless of what happens with Garrett Wilson, it looks like at least Zach Aston Reese is going to be here to stay.
At the hockey rink, let's talk a little bit of pucks. The Penguins put their power play, their top unit, back together for practice on Monday. And you gotta wonder what kind of gumption a coach has to ever take those guys apart.
It's like old Humpty Dumpty, right? He cracks them apart. They had a little success. They got a goal out of them the other night, splitting them up. But it was good to see the top power play unit back together on the ice. The one thing that I did like about splitting them up, though, is that when the power play line ended, Sidney Crosby's line, when that was back out there the other night, you saw Evgeny Malkin come out still with power play caliber talent, and he was surrounded with those guys, and they played a full 45 seconds or so after the power play. A lot of times you see teams take advantage of a team when they're kind of beaten down, weakened a little bit. They get that one fresh guy out there, but
still, dude.
I know.
You don't take those guys apart. Look, I understand what was happening. There was a lot of different things in motion there for Mike Sullivan. A lot of different variables, things he was trying to shake everybody out of their doldrums. But at the same time, those guys, man, you got to keep them together.
Yeah, and as good as the power play's been the last couple of years, we've seen the second power play unit really pick them up when they're not playing at their best. And they're without Connor Sherry this year, and he was good on that second unit the last couple of years. But you got to keep them together.
Yeah, no
question. It feels weird watching Jack Johnson set up in that Evgeny Malkin spot and take one-timers.
This is going to be a big plus for them. Plus, as Sidney Crosby was indicating after practice, a little extra motivation.
So, Matt, the Pitt Panthers football team goes out and wins a big game on Saturday of last week, and now have put themselves into position to not only perhaps work their way into the ACC championship game, but they're bowl eligible.
Yeah, and that's a step ahead from last year. I mean, that's now 14 years out of the last 18 that Pitt's made a bowl game, which is pretty steady success for a program. Although bouncing
everybody makes it now.
It does seem that way. It really does. But yeah, that's Pat Narduzzi even said this week, it's like that's one of those things where it's like it's a good thing to have. You can put it in your pocket now. You can play a little looser now because you're not going into that last game with the pressure of, we got to win this to get to the postseason. So they've got that going forward with the championship game now to play for.
Yeah, what are some bowl possibilities for them?
Well, the dream scenario, of course, if you win the conference, which would require another upset of Clemson now because they've already clinched the Atlantic Division.
I'm not counting on that.
Yeah, we're not counting on that. But that most likely, because the Orange Bowl is one of the semifinals this year, it would send Pitt to a different New Year's Six Bowl, so that could go anywhere.
I think everybody in the ACC also hoping that doesn't happen because they want
They want that revenue from having a playoff team with Clemson for sure. Most likely, you've got places like the Camping World Bowl is a possibility. So Pitt going back down to Florida again, that would be there. The Belk Bowl is also one of the top tier ACC bowls. However, that's in Charlotte. So if Pitt's in the championship game, generally they don't like taking the championship game loser because you've got the same fan base coming to the same city twice in a month. So that's an option. Then there's the usual suspects. If Pitt, maybe struggles down the stretch here, they could slip to some of the bowls they've been in recently. Military Bowl we saw. I'm sure Pitt fans are sick and tired of going to Birmingham. That's way down the list.
Pinstripe Bowl, those kind of
Pinstripe
things.
Bowl is an option. So there's still a lot of options up in the air. These next 2 weeks are really going to determine where Pitt lands in the opinion of the bowls in terms of the teams with other divisions. Syracuse is ranked highly, NC State. So Pitt still has a lot to play for.
The question on everybody's minds is, can there be some kind of a rematch with Penn State, or could they end up playing West Virginia in a bowl game?
Ooh, that's tough. Well, I know West Virginia right now, the way they're playing, they're thinking New Year's Six for themselves,
right.
and so they're hoping they're
not going to beat
a
Oklahoma.
situation. Ooh, bold prediction right here. But,
I'm just saying.
But they tend to shy away from rematches, so I don't know. I mean, the matchups are there in certain games where you have ACC versus Big Ten, you have ACC versus Big 12 in bowl games, but West Virginia would definitely be the more likely scenario if it comes to that, but I wouldn't count on either of those.
So the Pirates have an everyday third baseman, right? Do they?
They may have half and half. I'm wondering if it would seem to me it's setting up as a Colin Moran from the left side, Jung Ho Gung from the right side platoon as of right now, because I think it's hard for the Pirates to commit to Gung as a full-time player when he's basically missed 2 full seasons. So kind of interesting they signed him to a major league deal. I thought he would be one of these guys that would come to somebody's camp, probably the Pirates, is on a minor league deal with a make-good contract, but yet they guaranteed him $3 million even though he hasn't played in 2 years.
So that begs the question, setting Gong aside, as to whether or not Colin Moran is a platoon guy or if he's a splits guy. The only reason I bring this up, John, is I've had this conversation with Clint Hurdle a lot about the platoon aspect, about whether or not Moran can hit lefties. Yeah. Hurdle insists that the Pirates people insist that he can. Can he? Because we have seen it at times, but he doesn't use him.
But I was going to say, I don't know if we've seen enough to really make a concrete decision or evaluation on this day. That's what I didn't understand, especially in September. Why not play him against lefties? And he continued to platoon him, and I'm sure it made no sense.
Even though Freeze was gone.
Yeah, even though Freeze was gone, I thought that would have been a perfect time to find out if he can hit lefties. I mean, it's one thing to take it on faith, but it's another thing to see him actually do it. And until I see him actually hit lefties with any kind of consistency, I don't really know.
Now, defensively, we got to know a little bit more about him. He was probably better than what we saw in Bradenton, but still not necessarily everyday material.
Yeah, he's got a ways to go, no
the footwork
doubt.
and all that, yeah.
He got a little bit better as the season went on, but he's still far from an average defensive third baseman. And, we know Gung's not a Gold Glover either, but he did show when he was healthy here that he was pretty decent over at third. You could trust him to make the plays it should be.
Neither of them's as good as David Freese.
No, he was pretty good. Again, maybe not quite a Gold Glove guy, but one level below it, pretty
Going
good.
forward, was one of the better guys.
Yes, he really was.